Okay, everyone, if you could raise your hand, I'll get to as many people as possible. Let's start with Brennan Rupp, followed by Brandon Sudge.
Hey, Coach Smart. I'm just wondering, what can Eric Stokes bring to an NFL secondary?
Well, speed, and more speed is the first thing he can bring. But he's a high character young man that's done so much in our program. You know, people talk about the value on the field and the plays he's made and the speed he has. But for all those things he's great at, he's a lot better person than anything else. He's a guy that goes and works at the Boys and Girls Club. He reads to young kids across Athens, and he's a big brother to a sister that I know means a lot to him. So he's meant a lot to our organization. He'll mean a lot to the next organization he goes to, both on and off the field.
Hey, Kirby, I know we've talked about Richard a lot over these past few months, but can you speak on what it was like for you guys as coaches to see him perform and healthy out there on a televised stage and things like that? Is that her name?
I was happy for all the guys. I mean, I know you're asking specifically about Richard, but it was great to see him get back out there, have fun. I think what you love about Richard so much is his personality. And I had several NFL guys come over to me and just say that they were able to see his personality come out, not only in the workout, but in the interviews they were able to do in front of everybody. Probably the biggest compliment I got all day was a couple guys, GMs, came over and just said, hey, look, this group did a tremendous job walking up in front of us. And Richard was one of those guys to get to go up and get in front of them and kind of answer questions in front of 70 to 80 of your peers. That's pretty intimidating. And I thought they did a great job.
Okay, let's go to Mark Weiser, followed by Pranav Rama.
Kirby, I know so much is made of 40 times. I guess GPS numbers or a metric that comes up now for these prospects. Is that data that is shared with teams from games or practices? And what kind of useful tool is that?
It's very useful for us. We don't typically share that information out. So unless they're squeezing it out from somebody leaking it, we don't give that information out. We tend to share information that only helps our players. And in some cases it would help. In some cases, they may be consecutive practices in a row, so we don't share all that out. But it certainly helps us because it helps us when we need to pick up and when we need to cut back volume-wise.
Okay,
Coach. Okay, sorry. Coach, Ben Cleveland is one of the most intriguing offensive line prospects. What are NFL teams getting in a guy like that?
Big Ben. They're getting the man, the myth, the legend himself. Ben Cleveland is, first of all, a great person, just like the rest of these guys. But he's a kid that I've known since ninth grade. The legend of Big Ben has been up in Toccoa, Georgia. He's got a tremendous family. He's played a lot of football here. He's practiced a lot of football here. He's been around here a long time. And, anybody that's able to pick Ben is going to get a guy in that league it's just hard to find size. There's certain criteria for size that he meets all that criteria, and it's hard to move, get around. It's a passing league. So when he pass pros, he's a hard man to get past, and does a great job of that. So I'm excited to see what he does.
Okay, let's go to Phil Caralla, followed by Anthony Dasher.
Hey, Coach. Phil Caralla here from Overtime Fantasy. How are you doing?
Doing great, Phil.
So is there a player on your current roster that has kind of jumped into that leadership role with losing so many players going to the NFL draft this year?
Yeah, we've got several guys that are returning that I think are tremendous leaders. Zamir jumps off the way he sets the tone and the way he works. He and James Cook both kind of set an example. Jamari and Schaefer, Warren Erickson do a tremendous job on the offensive side of the ball. The defensive side of the ball, Nakobe is out there leading every day. He does a tremendous job with the defensive guys holding them accountable. Travon Walker has done that. Jordan and Devontae coming back helped tremendously. Then the secondary, Chris and Lewis have played a lot of football, especially with Richard's injury. So those guys are helping lead in the back end.
Hey, Kirby, I know you're always proud of the guys that come out here and work out on pro day, but being this was, I believe, was the first group that you and your staff actually recruited. Does that make it a little bit more special for you this year?
Yeah, it was great. I got to talk to those guys as a group, and I think every guy working out, we recruited with the exception of maybe Kendall Baker, who was out working out after some injuries he's had. And that group is special to me because they've all come at different times, but they're leaving together, and they're all ours. Proud of them. They've worked really hard for today and also to get closer to graduate. Some of them have graduated. I mean, to find a guy like Trey Hill, that's so rare, to graduate within 3 years and have the ability to come out early. So I'm excited for all those guys. I know it's a big day for them, and it's always one of the biggest days of your life. And looking back on it, we want to make sure we gave them everything they needed to be prepared for today.
Okay, let's go to Catherine Lewis, followed by Raphael Haynes.
Hey, Coach. So this pro day was obviously carrying extra importance to the players because of the cancellation of the combine, but how was it extra special for you this year, as it was one of the first groups that you were able to see through their entirety at UGA?
Yeah, it just meant a lot. Meant a lot for me to see the kids. You know, a lot of those guys were part of our first class. Some were second class, but each one is special to our staff. They've been great to Georgia. And I told them, I said, look, I don't know when your career is going to end. For some of you, it's just beginning today. And some of you, it'll carry on for a long time, and some of you, it won't. But the most important thing I want them to know is that they're not just football players. They're great people. They're great leaders. And we want to help them so that they can be successful the rest of their life without football.
Hey, Coach. Raphael from the three-point conversion kind of touched on it just a little bit, but I wanted to ask that, you know, through 2016, you've had some great players, great defenders. When you send them out after pro day and they're going to the NFL, wherever they're going, what do you instill in these players while they're in Georgia, like to make them become so great and so, you know, even at the next level, they've been so successful? What do you instill in them, or what do you tell them? What's the message?
Well, the core values for us are to come here, graduate, be part of something bigger than yourself. And it's not all about you, and it's not really all about the NFL. We may inherit a young man that all his ambitions are is to go to the NFL. We hope by the time he leaves, he understands the importance of a career outside of football, and he understands how to develop as a football player. We always say you're trying to develop 3 careers while you're here, and football is just one of those. And we want them to be better men by choosing Georgia. And I pride myself on the whole person more than just the whole player. And we failed these young men if we don't do more than just coach them football. And that's big for me. And today is about the measurements in the football, but the mental side is so important to these NFL teams now. And so many of them come and talk about our guys' ability to communicate. And we try to force that on them when they get here, so when they leave, they're prepared.
Okay, let's go to Adam Mack, followed by Chip Towers.
Hey, Coach, how's it going?
Great.
What did you see that made you want to switch Mark Webb from wide receiver to cornerback? And do you think he has the capability to make the switch again and play wide receiver in the NFL?
Mark was a kid that came in from Philly and was really just a versatile player. The first thing he has is toughness. He's got really good ball skills. We had a very crowded wide receiver room when he got here. We were very thin at defensive back when he got here. So there was opportunity more than anything. And he embraced the idea. You know, we had Riley, we had Miko, we had Javon, we had a lot of guys when he got here. And we thought he was one of our better athletes. And we knew he would be a good matchup guy because of his size and his physicality. And he proved to do that. He grew as a player. He got better as a player and has developed a lot. As far as switching back or going back, that's not something for me to debate really, because I didn't get to see him develop as a receiver. We developed him as a defensive back.
Yeah, Kirby, you guys had a dozen or so guys working out here today. Your teams have been well represented in the draft every year. How much is that a competitive part of what you're doing? I mean, like, you're a football coach, you're trying to turn them into professional football players. How much is that part of what you're trying to achieve here?
Well, it's not the most important thing, Chip. Obviously, I think I hit on the most important thing to me is that we develop them as men of character, get a great education, graduate. But I'm also cognizant of their ambitions, and their ambitions most times are to have an opportunity at the NFL. And each one of them will probably be approached and be drafted differently. Each one of them has a different long-term career path. I don't know what each one of those is going to be. I just want them to feel good that I had a good experience in Georgia, and that the Coach Smart staff at the University of Georgia has been there for me and has promoted me to give me this opportunity to go do what I want to do. I want to be there for these guys long beyond today when they get through playing.
Okay, let's go to Alex Alex Fleming, followed by Mike Griffith.
Coach Smart, this is nothing new to you. Oh, sorry, Alex Fleming, Florida Sun. Coach Smart, this is nothing new to you. From your days in Alabama, now being the head coach of Georgia, you've seen a lot of premier NFL talent come from the college ranks. If you had parting words to give to Stokes or Ben or Webb, what would you tell them about the next level?
Be prepared for adversity, that nothing comes easy. And they'll tell you they took the big step to come here, and one of the largest steps you take is from high school to the SEC level. Well, the next highest step is going to be SEC to the NFL, competitive nature of things. You're going into a less than 1% group of athletes, so everybody's talented. How do you take care of your body? Because what you got away with in college, you may not be able to get away with in the pros, because it's going to be at the highest level. But tell them to enjoy it and have fun. It's not going to last forever. We've seen that. A 6-7 year career in the NFL is extremely successful. So be preparing for your next career while you're there.
Kirby, a few guys I want to ask you about. They each kind of got a unique story. And if you can give me the Crib Notes version. Stokes was the lowest rated guy in 2017. You've developed him. Richard coming back from an injury, and Monty playing through an injury all year. Could you touch on those three guys?
Yeah, Stokes is a really interesting story. Just not many people know the whole story and backdrop. Coach Tucker, Mel, and we had a lot of conversations about Stokes throughout the year. I can't tell you that season how many times I went back and watched him in camp from when he was here, his high school highlight tapes where he would take a ball at running back and just outrun everybody. And we just thought there's this raw, talented guy right down the road. We weren't looking at ratings like I know a lot of you guys do. No knock. We don't really care about the ratings. We just evaluate the tape, and we let the tape speak for itself. And the tape said, here's a really long person that's really fast, and he's a good kid, and he's less than an hour away from us. He also had won the 100 meters. So there's some verified speed there. And he came in. Most kids don't believe in redshirting, don't want a red shirt. He developed. Mel was very patient with him. Mel taught him very well. I give Mel a lot of credit for teaching Eric Stokes. They used to call him Dirty Red. He was a hard-nosed, get better player, and he had a long way to go. But by his redshirt freshman year, he came on and had to come in the game. I think he was against Auburn and played really well. Played good against Missouri at times, and just grew. He kept getting better. So I'm proud of what Stokes was able to do. He was always fast. That wasn't the question mark. But what he did is he improved a lot of areas where he wasn't great and became a much better player. As far as Monty, he's a kid that went and committed to LSU, I think on TV or whatever his announcement, called us 15 minutes afterwards and said, Coach, I made a mistake. I want to be at Georgia. I want to be there. I want to be a Bulldog. And it meant a lot to us to be able to get him. And he pushed through injuries this year. Never had a kid that practiced as hard as Monty does. And it hurt him that he couldn't practice this year every day and try to help the team. But he tried to go out and play on Saturdays, and then Richard's story is very special, as you noted, because, there was a time where we weren't sure that he was going to be able to come back, play. I mean, there was a few minutes there where I didn't know what had happened. And it was a scary moment, and it makes you realize there's a lot more to life than football.
Okay, I got time for two more questions. Let's go to Jennifer Lee Chan, followed by Daryl Ledbetter.
Coach, Aziz had made a huge jump in his final season there. Where do you see his ceiling, and what does he bring to an NFL team?
High character, toughness. I think when you start trying to build a defense, whether you're in the NFL, college, or high school, it starts with what kind of toughness do you have, okay? When you rank tough players, Aziz Ojulari is really high. He strikes, he has contact, he's never shied away. He doesn't complain when you go full pads. He wants every part of it. He's a high character player off the field. He's going to be an asset in the locker room. He makes your whole team better, but he's also talented. So I'm excited to see where he goes. Somebody's going to get a great young man in Aziz.
Yeah, Coach D. Orlando Ledbetter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Just can you discuss Aziz and what teams are asking you about him? And then also with Coach Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot being up there today, you glad to see that relationship continue to work with the Falcons into their new regime?
Absolutely. As far as Aziz, I mean, every team that I talked to today, it's probably the first question I get is, what do you think Aziz is? Is he a Sam? Is he a DPR? What can he do outside rushing the passer? Is he going to be able to play in space? There's a lot of questions there that they want to know because they're talking about investing a lot of money in those high draft picks. So they want to get a lot of information on those guys. And as far as Arthur and Terry, they've been great. They've reached out, got a relationship with both those guys now, and they've been awesome to UGA in terms of reaching out and communicating, just like the last staff was.
All right, Coach, thanks for your time. We will have more players following shortly.